My question then becomes whether there are, inheritances or gifts being provided to the defendant, which can be included in a child support calculation.
I think entering the third year of this divorce, which is still not final, Mrs. Haskell's denied my client the parenting time that he has been awarded.
Matter of Aubrey Haskell versus David Haskell.
Good morning, Judge Elliott. Blumberg on behalf of David Haskell, who's appearing via Zoom from my office.
Thank you. And Mr. Backland, this is your objection to a child support recommendation, correct?
That's correct, Your Honor. We objected based on the income of the parties here. We were last here in April to discuss defendant's income and how that was calculated, and defendant submitted some documents to me and to the court regarding his income and his business expenses. And we objected based on the expenses and what the actual income is. There were previous calculations that had the defendant earning in excess of about $10,000. I think it was around 13 in gross. And he objected to that and submitted these business expense forms. We objected to that, creating the new gross income, which is $7,213.97. based on the front of the court's calculation. What's not clear from the expense reports and the coming to that figure of $7,200, we'll call it approximately, is what exactly was deducted pursuant to these monthly expense reports. And secondly, a question of whether we have a large enough sample size to come to a gross income for the defendant. The reason I mentioned the sample size is because of the seasonal or annual variation. I don't think there's any argument between the parties that defendant's income changes. He's self-employed, and so that income is based on the work that he's able to do. And so the child support formula in 2.2a mentions that where monthly income varies due to seasonal factors, calculate income using information from at least the preceding 12 months. We have 4 months of information here from January through April of this year, which doesn't include the previous 12 months. I know we discussed last time we were in the Schedule C that was included with the tax information. Next, when I looked at the expenses and income listed here, I'm just pointing it up to my screen. I went through and I just used the raw numbers included here, which had income and then expenses and some business expenses. And I found an average of about $8,400 a month. And again, it's not clear what was deducted and what wasn't when it went into the front of the court's calculation there. One thing I also noticed is that there were some personal expenses listed here. I'm not arguing that those personal expenses were deducted, but again, it's not clear. And something I also noticed is that there's not other things in the personal bills that would include like a mortgage or rent or food or gas. And so my question then becomes whether there are inheritances or gifts being provided to the defendant, which can be included in a child support calculation. More specifically, that's referenced in 2.05C. So the income may include the value of gifts or gratuities such as money, food, shelter, transportation, or other goods or services that a parent receives from relatives other than a spouse, to the extent that it is significant and regularly reduces personal expenses or replaces or supplements employment income. And so what's not clear from these documents is whether there's, housing or something being provided as a gift to Mr. Haskell. So in all, I think what needs to be clarified here is what is being deducted from the income that is received in gross by Mr. Haskell versus the expenses that are allowed to be deducted as part of that, and whether those are mandatory conditions as a condition of the employment, these items listed here.
All right, it sounds to me like we're probably gonna need an evidentiary hearing, because I don't think it's something we can resolve in our quick, short spots that we have set for today. Mr. Blumberg, any response?
Yeah, Judge, I'm looking at a June 19th filing by Mr. Backland that objects to the recommendation based on the miscalculation of his client's income. So we have provided every document that has been required of us to produce. What I'm looking at is his objection stating that the front of the court is imputed income to Mrs. Haskell that is inappropriate. So, I mean, he hasn't even addressed that. I thought that's why we were here today.
Well, I can get to that as well as part of the objection. Ms. Haskell's employment was, or income was imputed to approximately $3,333.33 a month based on potential income as a teacher. Ms. Haskell does have a degree that would allow her to teach. She's not currently certified, but that can be renewed as that's done over the summer months. The issue is the availability of employment. Ms. Haskell has worked as a substitute teacher, but that's not a full guaranteed salary income that a teacher would have in the Gaylord area. Ms. Haskell was certified for secondary teaching, and there hasn't been available positions to which she could apply and obtain that employment. So she had continued to work through EduStaff, which is a substitute teaching service, and also work through Shipped, which is a grocery delivery service where she functions as a personal shopper for individuals. So the income that she is actually receiving is not the $3,333.33 per month. It is the potential income that was included in the calculation rather than her actual income. And while she would like to be able to work full-time as a teacher, that simply isn't available in this area too.
Mr. Backland, your objection, I think I'm looking at it right, is the one that was filed on June 19th.
You see, I believe it was, Your Honor.
I do see in paragraph 3C, you indicated you don't believe defendant's income accurately reflected, well, you believe it's reduced beyond the parameters set forth in the child support formula. So you did address your concerns with his income also. So I do believe it is appropriate to set the matter for a evidentiary hearing. We can shore out both of those issues, whether or not the appropriate deductions are taken out of Mr. Haskell's and where we should be at with Ms. Haskell's income, and then we can resolve these hopefully once and for all and get this matter taken care of.
Your Honor, we are, I think, entering the third year of this divorce, which is still not final. I don't know what we need to do to bring some closure to this case. If we're going to have this evidentiary hearing on child support, maybe we can also address the parenting time violations at that point.
I think we have a court date coming up in September. Are you expecting that we'll need a evidentiary hearing on those?
I mean, I think it's pretty clear that Mrs. Haskell's denied my client the parenting time that he's been awarded. My understanding, and we don't need to get into the explanation, I guess, as to her excuse for not providing the child.
What we could do then is set up a 3-hour evidentiary hearing, and we can address both of those issues.
That'd be great. That would be actually be a good thing.
Okay. And I've got October 14th at 1 p.m.
Okay. That would be Indigenous Peoples Day, Judge. I usually take the day off, but I think I could make myself available.
Backland, are you available?
Yeah, I can do the 14th. I can make that work. Yep.
All right, so we'll set up for an evidentiary hearing October 14th in person. This will also address then the parenting time violations. Ms. Haskell was scheduled to appear before the court on September 25th. There's no need. We'll take that off the docket and simply add that to the October 14th date.
Okay, thank you.
Great, thank you.
I don't know his monthly income, Your Honor, but I see Ms. Haskell shaking her head no.
I'm not sure how she would know that, but
The last time he filed income taxes, his net, or well, prepared income taxes, he didn't actually file them. His net was $175,000. That was net.
he doesn't make anything close to that.